Welcome to Scanner School. My name is Phil Lichtenberger, and this is session number 106. This podcast is here to teach you everything you need to know about the scanner radio hobby. And today we're going to put on our future glasses or look into the crystal ball, jump into the DeLorean, whatever it is, and let's make some predictions for the next 10 years of scanning. So before I jump into the podcast, I want to announce a new date and a new time for our Facebook and YouTube live sessions. Instead of being the first Saturday of the month, we're going to make this one the first Tuesday of the month. And I have a schedule conflict on the next first Saturday. I'll be teaching at Ham Radio University on Long Island. So if you're in the Long Island area, why don't you come on by and check us out? You can get more information at hamradiouniversity.org. I'm actually giving a scanner radio forum at 10 a.m. at Long Island University as part of HRU. And if you're on the Long Island area, love to see you there. But going back to what I was originally saying, our new date and time for our Facebook and YouTube lives will be this upcoming Tuesday, January 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or for those of you who are loving the Zulu time or the GMTs, that'll be Wednesday morning, January 8th. At 1 a.m. And we'll put links on our social media and also in our news bulletin. So with that, let's get through this little bump, and then we'll be on the other side with today's podcast.
Welcome to The Scanner School, a podcast dedicated to the scanner radio hobby. Class is about to begin. Here is your host, Phil Lichtenberger.
Okay, so on session 102 of Ask Scanner School, volume 15, again, you can take a listen to that one at scannerschool.com/session 102. Joshua Robb had asked me where I see the hobby going in the next 10 years. So while I did answer really quickly on that podcast, I feel that since today, the on-air date of this podcast being December 31st, 2019, it's the last day of the year. It's the last day of the decade. So it's a good, it's just a good time to reflect on the last 10 years and also to make some predictions for the next 10. So let's go ahead. We'll jump into the DeLorean. We'll jump back in time, and then we'll leap ahead into the future and maybe make some predictions. So let's quickly review the last decade in scanning. So back in 2010, now we're talking about 9 years, almost 10 years ago, almost at this point, the Home Patrol 1 was released. That was October 2010. I can't believe it's been 10 years since that radio came out. Revolutionary. It had a touch screen, color touch screen display. It allowed you to bring in the entire radio reference database on a micro SD card and access it through the front of the scanner. Brilliant move on Uniden's part. Basically, they took a radio that many people would normally not be able to use, and by entering in your zip code, it would pull the information off the SD card and would allow you to then scan the area. Now, this doesn't pay any attention to the fact that you need to keep updating the Home Patrol database, that you have to have a Windows-based computer in order to do so, and it's not really as simple as just putting in your zip code and going off to the races. But in theory, it was a very, very revolutionary and very cool design. I have a Home Patrol 1. I still use it daily. It is my daily burner radio when I want to listen to the fire departments up here. So what I do is I have it sitting on one analog conventional channel, which is a huge overkill for this radio, but it does serve its purpose. It doesn't look like a radio that's sitting out in the kitchen counter, so it kind of does play a part for me. Yes, I was an early adopter on this radio. I bought it when it first came out, and in fact, I do have a unboxing video for this radio on my original YouTube channel. So if you look under YouTube for W2LIE, you'll see a unboxing and database update for that radio, which is amazing that it's 10 years ago. So shortly after that, I believe it was 2011, GRE releases the PSR 800 and the Radio Shack Pro 18 models. So again, same basic concept. It was now a true handheld version of what the Home Patrol set out to be, where the Home Patrol was basically just a mobile, it was strictly more a desktop radio that would be able to go on the mobile. It did have a couple batteries in it, but it wasn't really portable by any sense of the means or any meaning of the word. The GRE release was more of a handheld, conventional looking scanner. I mean, it kind of had an iPod design to it. It had the round circle keypad that was familiar on the very early generations of iPods, and even had a play and pause button on it. So again, they were trying to hit more of the non-scanner geek market, those who wanted to get into scanners but was kind of over their head, or they were intimidated by getting a scanner. So again, the GRE scanner uses Windows software called EasyScan, which today I still think is a horrible name for that piece of software. And it allowed you to use, again, the radio reference database and get updates to the radio and also do some database style scanning. So shortly beyond that, we have P25 Phase 2 finally making its full appearance. So this kind of killed the TDMA X2 protocol that was out there that a lot of departments would have gone to if they needed to have P2 before the standard came out. TDMA X2 was kind of a Motorola thing that allowed you to get Phase 2 style of talk groups, or in other words, TDMA talk groups, but without actually going through with the full Phase 2 protocol. So with all that coming through, then, it kind of kiboshed that one. But again, you didn't try to make the Home Patrol 1 work on a X2 TDMA in a Phase 2 environment, and quickly discovered that the hardware that was inside the Home Patrol did not allow them to do such a thing. So they had to come up with the Home Patrol 2, which had a little bit more horsepower to it. And the Home Patrol 2 wasn't released until 2014. So let's back up a little bit too. I believe it was in 2013, according to my homework, that the BCD 436HP and the BCD 536, they were announced on YouTube in late 2013. So again, this was a nice upgrade to the Home Patrol 1. Uniden did a great job listening to the advanced users, where the Home Patrol 1 didn't really allow you to manipulate the data or didn't have that feel of a scanner with a keypad and everything else. The 436 HP allowed you to feel like you had a scanner, and the 536 HP actually brought Wi-Fi into the scanner radio world, which is really cool. Again, the very first piece of equipment out there that had something really exciting and really new. On top of that, it allowed you to have the Home Patrol database, and then it was upgradable to DMR and NXDN, which again, pretty unheard of when it came to scanner radios. Now, we have Whistler buying GRE, and also we have Whistler then releasing in 2016 the TRX-1 and the TRX-2. So TRX-1 and TRX-2 was Whistler's redesign on the PSR 800, and also was a nice update to it. So again, keypad, a little bit better design on it. Basically the same internals and whatever else. It was just a new kind of a user interface in order to get the data out of the scanner and to be used as a scanner. Now again, this is still a current top-of-the-line scanner for Whistler. Radio Shack closing their doors in 2017, so that was definitely a hit to the hobby and also a hit to GRE and Whistler. Uniden releases the SDS 100 in 2018, and in 2019, the SDS 200 comes out on the market. So we have the birth of radios like the SDS 100 and 200 because of issues like simulcast. Did we have simulcast 10 years ago? Nope. We were barely struggling with Motorola Type 2 rebanding. Remember that fiasco? So it was right about in the 2009, 2010 that we were dealing with rebanding out here, at least in my market. And I remember thinking, holy cow, this is pretty cool. Something new is happening here. But now with simulcasting and everything else, I mean, the market, the whole thing is changing, right? The evolution in the last 10 years has been ridiculous. So what else have we seen in the last 10 years? We've seen the birth of the BCD 325P2, which killed the box design of the BR330T, the BC346T and XT, the BCD 396 XT. So that body style is gone. It's gone the way of the dodo. No more brick look from Uniden. And the new body style copies basically the 75 XLT, the BC125AT, the BC126AT, depending on where you are, and also the new SR30C. So they've got that new compressed body style that used to be reserved for the low-end models, which is now the standard body style from Uniden. Also, from the mobile and desktop front, we saw the BCD 996 XT give way to the BCD 996 P2. So again, these P2 model numbers, the 325 P2 and 996 P2, indicate they support P25 Phase 2. So what else do we see? We see more digital modes taking the stage and becoming even more popular, which means we see upgrade paths from Uniden with the NXDN and DMR protocols. And Whistler was, banging the drum saying, we support this out of the box. There's no need to spend any extra money on upgrades. And all the Whistler camp was all happy that they had a superior radio in their point of view. So why bother spending $60 per upgrade from Uniden, so another $120, if it already comes with it on your scanner? So again, a lot of finger pointing between both camps as to who has the better radio. And again, that's still not going to go away, I think, in the next 10 years. What else happened in the last 10 years? We saw a rise in the birth, basically, of software-defined radios. New manufacturers and new businesses being created around that market, such as AirSpy and Hack RF, to name two. And now that I'm really thinking about it out loud here, I'm kind of wondering when it was I bought my AirSpy. Maybe it was close to 10 years ago, but I don't think it was anything more than that. As a downer note, we definitely see an increase in agencies enabling encryption, which is what happened in my neck of the woods, where Nassau County Police Department went not only P25, but they went encrypted, and then they eventually closed off their old conventional system, killing the enjoyment of listening to Nassau County Police in my neck of the woods, which just means that you just don't listen to them, you listen to something else. So after this really short break, we're going to talk about where I see the next 10 years in the scanner radio market. Okay, looking for something different now that the holiday season is over. You've got a new scanner, maybe you didn't get a new scanner. Have you looked at the P25 pagers by Unication? These are rugged P25 Phase 2 capable radios that now also support DMR Type 1 and Type 2, which basically means DMR, conventional, and repeaters, no trunking on them. This is a radio that you don't have to worry about it if it gets wet, if it falls off your belt, if it happens to take a spill, if your kids grab it, or anything else like that. Your SDS 100, I wouldn't hand that to my 5 or 6 year old. No way, Jose. But the Unication G-Series pagers, she runs around with those all day long. No, they're not child toys, but I do give them to my kid to entertain him. Check out the new G2 pager, which is a single band VHF or UHF pager. The G3 does both VHF and UHF. The G4 just does 700, 800, and the G5 supports VHF with 700, 800 or UHF 700, 800. So contact my company, East Coast Pagers, for a quote, and I'm pretty sure that we can beat those for you. So again, eastcoastpagers.com. So did you get a new scanner for the holidays and you are unsure of how to use it? Do you need a little bit of help, a little bit of hand-holding? Do you want help setting up the software on your computer? Hey, I can help you with that. You can hire me for your very own one-on-one tutoring session when it comes to your new scanner. We will work side by side virtually over Skype or even Zoom so that I can see your computer and you can see mine, and we can go through the process of setting up your scanner. So for as an hour of time, I think that it is going to help part the clouds, bring the sun down, and help you enjoy that new scanner even more. So you can reach us at scannerschool.com/consulting or phil@scannerschool.com. All right, I want to thank all those who have helped support Scanner School through the last 2 years now. Can't believe we're going on 2 years of this? It's been a long time. No, we're going on 2 years, right? Oof, feels longer than that. But those of you who have been keeping us going, I want to thank you. You've been more than generous and clicking on our support links, scannerschool.com/support, and buying Butel software through us, purchasing new hardware through ScannerMaster, or even when you go to Amazon and clicking on Amazon links before you make a purchase. It's a great way to help support us at no additional cost to you. It certainly does help keep the podcast going. But for those of you who are supporting us on Patreon, and the Patreon supporters are great, you guys get the podcast early if you're at the $3 higher tier, squelchy stickers for those of you at the $5 tier, plus a private YouTube session for you guys once a month, also at the $5 tier. And again, at $5 a month, it's just about $1 a week is what you're supporting us with, which is really, really cool. So I want to thank our current Patreon supporters. They are Dan, Glenn Bryden, James Felling, MT Bono, Raymond Hill, Todd Glendy, Craig Harper, Guy Lee, Irvin Thibodeau, Jeff Block, John Goldenberg, Ken Newberry, Kenneth Fowler, Ronnie Bach, Sal Marandola, Scott Vorder, Signals Everywhere, and William R. Cand. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. And again, if you'd like to help support Scanner School through the new year, scannerschool.com/support. All right, now on to the conclusion of this podcast. All right, so let's continue our discussion with SDR, because I think this is really where the explosion of the hobby is going to be over the next 10 years. I think it's a very exciting time for the scanning because of SDR, the new development that's out there when it comes to SDRs. And we continue to see ways of monitoring trunk systems and privately developed software that supports SDR it's such a great time to be in this hobby. And I will be launching my SDR course this year for those who've been waiting for it patiently. Yes, first quarter this year is when I'm going to have it done. I promise you. That is my goal, to get it to you guys. All right. So if you want to learn how to use SDR, just keep your eyes on the website and the email newsletter. One thing that is very exciting about SDR is that the price point of it, right? They're pretty cheap. They're flexible as what you can do on them. And that's the problem with them also. That's what has me very worried about SDR, which is why if you haven't gotten one yet, I would really suggest buying a couple right now, because who knows what the next 10 years is going to bring when it comes to SDRs. I got a very, very bad feeling that something is going to change in the SDR market because they're too flexible and there isn't any cellular block on them. For those of you who are here in the States, you're very familiar with the fact that you have to buy a scanner that has a cellular block in place, even though you really can't listen to anything anymore in the cellular spectrum. But whatever, it's part of the rules, and that's that. But SDRs, they're kind of sidestepping out right now. And all it takes is just a couple of people to ruin it for everybody. And I think that's kind of what is going to happen here, right? We've got people who are posting the things they're doing with SDRs that are a little bit shady, that are a little bit illegal, and loose lips do sink ships. Now, again, if you're a fan of Corrosive from Signals Everywhere, he actually did a vlog on this very same subject. I'm not going to take this as a platform or a time to echo what he said. I think he did a very good job at speaking about his concerns, which also I do share these same concerns. You can check out his YouTube video, and I'll put a link to that in the session notes, scannerschool.com/session 106. All right, so continuing with SDR, I think we're going to have a shakeup, basically, when it comes to the two-party system that is Uniden and Whistler. I'm predicting that either Whistler or I'm really leaning towards maybe a third party is going to develop a radio that is based solely around an SDR and a little microcomputer inside of it. I'm not talking something like the Uniden SDS-100 that has got an IQ scanner that supports, that says it's SDR. I'm talking something that's more open source, something that's a little bit more flexible, something that we can get in there and tweak. I don't want to say the word hack, but something that we can really customize if you're smart enough and you can do things with computers and coding. I think that we have Raspberry Pis out there now, and the ability to make software and to even get images that allow you to just turn a Raspberry Pi into a receiver with an SDR. I think we're going to see a strong development on that, and I think somebody is going to actually pick up the ball and run with it and create a product that is a fraction of the price of the SDS-100 that will do twice as much and will be more of a kind of roll your own, but also a this is how well it works out of the box kind of thing. Kind of the things too, would you be allowed to add modules to it and stuff like that. So I really think that this is something that's going to come into play in the next decade, especially with stuff like Kickstarter, being able to support projects like this and to fund R&D and all that stuff. I think that this really could be an exciting time to have a no-name or somebody in his garage develop a new radio that really does go through this. And the only thing that worries me is FCC compliance and a lot of this stuff too would be probably a big hurdle. But if they can finance it enough on Kickstarter, I'm sure that would be happening on there as well. And if somebody does have something like that on Kickstarter or is developing that, I'd love to have you on the guest as a podcast and even back you on Kickstarter, because that I think is going to really shake up the two-party system that is the scanner radio market. A lot of one of these issues too that has been a wish list of scanner radio users has been Bluetooth. I don't see Bluetooth even making it to a scanner radio. I just don't see that being there, to be honest with you. But something like a Raspberry Pi development, yeah, I think it would be in there as well. I think Whistler is going to come out with something new. They're going to have to. I can't see the TRX-1 and TRX-2 surviving another 10 years as the primary flagship radio for that company. They are going to have to come up with something new. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was based around SDR, and they're going to have to do it to survive. I think that's going to have to be there. We're not going to be sitting here 10 years from now still talking about the TRX-1 and TRX-2 as being current products. Although at this point, though, the TRX-100 and 200 has pretty much been dismissed and buried 6 feet underground at this point. I would like to see some development on digital modes in a handheld radio such as Tetra, because we can't listen to Tetra in a handheld radio. That'd be really cool to be able to have something like that would be able to support that. I think we're going to see more of a push into DMR. I think we're going to see more of a push into P25. So I think more agencies are going to roll over to that. They're going to see the benefit of doing that. And we'll see a fraction of those agencies go encrypted, all right? I think it's just the way of the land. People are going to continue to do that. They're going to continue to cite officer safety, and I completely get that. And then the other camp's going to say, but we need to know transparency. Look, nobody's gonna. It's just gonna be the way it's gonna be. I mean, that's just what it is. And I think you can see a lot of people still complaining and beating the drum that encryption is killing the hobby, and now they own nothing but a paperweight. And they're honestly, my answer to that is no. The scanner can do more than just listen to one thing, right? You're going to need to discover what else is out there to listen. The hobby isn't dead because your locals went encrypted. All right. Now let's flip this a little bit. Does everyone complain when a single cable TV channel decides they can't do it anymore and they close up shop? Do they complain there's nothing else to watch on TV, even though there's another 1,000 channels out there? No, they move on with their lives and they find something else to watch. Or when a newspaper folds up and they say, oh, now we can't read the news anymore because my local paper or this nationwide paper or this magazine decided they can't produce anymore. Is there anything else to... No, you don't. You find something else. And that's exactly the mindset people have to come with to when it comes to encryption. All right, jumping off my soapbox here. I'm sorry about that, guys. I just really had to get that one out there because I don't know. All right. I think we're going to see a lot of activity in the next couple of short years on the T-band give back right here in the United States. So I think this ruling is going to be overturned. I know the FCC is pushing for it as well, but they're also getting ready now to auction off the T-band spectrum. And I really think that they're going to have to halt this altogether, right? There's too many users in the T-band spectrum, right? The area north of 470 megahertz and south of 520, especially here in the New York City area. NYPD, the 480s, FDNY 483, my local county here, we have radios in 505 megahertz. There's just so much in there, and the landscaping is so congested, especially in metropolitan areas. Right here, Long Island, departments here can't even get a UHF frequency because it is so congested. Okay, not only that, but because they're not licensing T-band anymore right here because of the whole give back thing, but they can't. There's just not enough real estate when it comes to that, unless they allow some sort of grant to get everybody over to a trunk system, and they force you to use the existing frequencies as trunking. But again, that's great on a countywide level. But we also have here private departments, right? The fire departments here, there's like 72 right here in my county alone, and each one of them wants to have a UHF channel, and they all have their own boards and everything else. To get them on a countywide system is going to be really tough for them. I'm not making excuses. I'm just thinking that it's just never going to happen. I mean, the county has talk groups for them to use, and they don't want to use them. It'd be great if they would. It would allow me to listen all over the place from my handheld, wherever I was in the county, but they just don't want to do it. So I think the only way to get around the T-band buyback would be to force more trunking, more digital, and to increase grants so that more departments can jump on board when it comes to digital. So that's where I see things. So, and of course, we're going to see new scanners come out there, right? We're going to see new scanners from Uniden. I predict at least 6 scanners in the next decade. Now, think about it. We had about 10 scanners in the last 10 years. So I don't think my prediction is too far off. Again, like I said, we're going to see something new from Whistler. We're going to have to see something new from Whistler. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a third party pop in here the next 10 years. But I want to know, what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years here in the scanner radio hobby? I think it's always cool to look ahead and just to come out there and just say, I wonder what's going to happen, and just put it out there and let us know. And we can come back in another couple of years and just see who's on track and who's right and what's coming out there. So if you want to leave me your feedback on this one, I'd love to have this as part of the podcast. Scannerschool.com/session106, where you can leave your comments about this podcast right on our website. Of course, you can do so on our Facebook group, scannerschool.com/Facebook group, or in our club. Scannerschool.club is another way for you to leave me your feedback about what you think the next 10 years of this hobby is going to be. Now, don't forget, we have the session notes online, scannerschool.com/session106, and I'll see you all live on Facebook and YouTube on Tuesday, January 7th, or Wednesday, January 8th, depending where you are. So again, that is 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m., if my math is correct, Zulu or GMT. All right, guys, we'll catch you all next week. Have a happy New Year. I hope that your Christmas and Hanukkah and Boxing Day were all great for you guys, and we'll see you all in the next decade. 73, everyone.